where this becomes a problem is in female sports. And as far as I'm concerned, if females are okay with it, then all right, go right ahead. The best times to get married, and my view was to get married very, very young or in middle age, right? I want to say balanced human beings is too much exposure to what's happening out there and not enough focus on what's happening in your own home and your immediate surroundings. When that suicide is a kind of affliction of the affluent, and the only way you love yourself is when you consistently make decisions and do things that you yourself are proud of. Not that I proud of, that your mother proud of, that your cousin, your auntie, your auntie.
Welcome back. It's the Alternative Perspectives podcast, the app 868. Remember, you can check us out on all your podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. All right. Remember, the 500 subscriber giveaway is coming up. Once we reach 500 subscribers, we'll tell you what you got to do to win yourself a pair of earbuds.
Before you go ahead, I just want to really urge you folks to log on to the podcasting platforms in particular, and not have anything against YouTube, but I think that is a much better way to consume the podcast in a way. You know what I mean? It gives you a lot more leverage in terms of how long you can listen to it for.
Right.
You know, using as much of your data, and you could put in the background while you're doing other things. So, folks, go out there, support the podcasting platforms, and most importantly, support this podcast on those podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all
Google
the others.
Podcasts.
Right.
Yeah, all them thing. All them thing over there, sir.
Just Google how to listen to podcasts.
Yeah, if you never listen to our podcast. But then if you're hearing this, I mean, you know.
Right. No, you might watch on YouTube.
On YouTube,
right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, right? Yeah, and we see these subscribers. The subscriber count is growing.
Right.
We reach 400 now.
Nice.
So, 400 and something. So, we nearly reach 500. So, yeah, it's going to happen.
And I know to the big YouTubers out there that might sound laughable, but I don't care. I think I celebrating every win.
I think now in Trinidad, but if you have 400 subscribers, you're pretty decent, no? Yeah, pretty decent in Trinidad.
Yeah.
You know, not Mr. Beast, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we jumping into it. Today, I got a message in my daughter's WhatsApp group, for her class, and they were talking about, preparation to head back out to school in next term, right? As you know, this term is winding down, and they're saying be looking to get ready to, what do you call this thing? This in and out kind of learning thing that way. Rotation, yeah. I real tired, so that's why I'm drinking on one side. Forgive me. Yeah. They got to see if I catch myself. Yeah. I honestly thought when the Prime Minister spoke before, and he said everybody's going out to school, I honestly, clearly is my ditziness or whatever you want to call it, because he didn't say that everybody is going back out to school all at the same time. So I was wrong to assume that is what he meant. But that's what I assume he meant, because I guess that's what I wanted. You understand what I'm saying?
And you thought it meant school would go back to normal, maybe with the masks, but the school scheduling will go back to normal.
And I didn't even think about the mask until somebody asked me, so how you feel about your daughter going back to school? I was like, I don't feel no way. And then they was like, but with that mask thing, I said, well, she could do what she wants. So, forever. Right? Yeah, and then when I heard about this rotation thing today, I started to feel a bit confused, flustered, because, and I mean, I know a lot of people have been going through this, so I do feel, because it happened to me now, I see them, because I've been talking about it. When you had a study about your children going back out to school, and some days they go in and some days they don't go in, you got to kind of rearrange your life to facilitate that now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember, I've been going through that already. Because I have an older daughter who's in secondary school, and she's been doing this since last year, October, essentially. Last year, October, right? Yeah. Last year, October, they returned then?
Can't remember. Sometime last year.
Yeah. No, it's, in my mind, I'm feeling like if she didn't pass through a Christmas period with school.
Yeah, but because remember it had the point where they just took the vaccinated children, and then they took the...
But that didn't last long. And then they
so it was sometime last year.
Yeah. So she would have been... Yeah, anyway, long. The point is, I've been already dealing with that, since last year, October. So, and in our case, when I say our case, the case of my wife and I, we have a support system, and neither one of us is traditionally employed. We're both self-employed, essentially. So it's not a big deal in that regard. For people who would have the day jobs, the regular 9 to 5s, I guess, and if anyone is two parents or just one parent that has to take care of them and they have all the, but I mean, they would just do what they're doing now, just do it on off days as opposed to others
Well, all right,
all the time.
No, because I was just having somebody the other day, and to lead into the, actually first topic, but what the person is saying is that they have no choice but to send their child to a quote unquote illegal daycare. If you understand what I'm saying.
Because I know plenty of people do that for a while now.
Yeah, well, the thing is, but she's a person is not feeling good about that. At the end of the day, she feels like if something happens to go wrong, the neighbor get vexed with the daycare woman and call the police, and the police decide to come and make a scene. My child could be part of a drama because the government locked down the place, and I had to go to work. Well, in her case, her husband had to go to work. And we had nowhere else to put the child, but in a quote-unquote illegal daycare, because it's illegal for a daycare to open right now or to function right now. So, I mean, you're making people criminals then, basically.
Yeah, and you've been doing it for quite some time too. When I say it wasn't just happening during the lockdowns. It's 2 years now. March. We're in March now, so in a couple of weeks it'll be 2 years exactly.
A couple of weeks, is it 20?
The 28th, I think.
Nah, name so far. I think it's the 23rd. And today is not like the 22nd or something.
Yeah, no, but I think the full-on lockdown came on the 28th. I think we started to have some restrictions
put in place. But the school thing.
Oh, yeah. The school was the 15th or the 20th, the 20th or something. Yeah,
quite earlier. So we make the 2 years, right?
Yeah, we make the 2 years that school children would have been around. In school, sorry. But yeah. So it is inconsiderate. It is the fact that it hasn't crossed anybody's mind or seem to have impressed upon anybody enough to have them address that over the past couple of years is maddening. But it is in keeping with the general attitude that has been displayed by the government towards COVID. They see it as a kind of univariable problem. There's only one thing they have to focus on, and all the rest of the things we could shove under the carpet because the consequences don't rear their heads right now. So what do you think about it? The situation with the double suicide. Well, at least we call it double suicide, but I read today that the autopsy had to confirm it was suicide. So
you're still waiting for the autopsy to confirm?
Yeah, they're still waiting for the autopsy to confirm the cause of death. But let's take it as suicide.
All right. So it had 4 suicides on that weekend.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the case of the double suicide, people, their family members were saying that it didn't look like they don't think it was a domestic issue, right? Or anything with domestic violence or anything like that. Well, I guess it's a family, so I guess they would say that. Not saying it is, right? But what somebody was saying is that it's possible it was a financial strain they were going through.
Well, apparently they're saying that. Apparently they found the note, and the note...
Apparently they did have video too.
Right.
Which I didn't get to. How come I didn't get the video?
And I don't understand it either, because I don't understand. They can say they have a lot of stories these days, and this... We'll get back to it, but this speaks to the quality of journalism in this country. Yeah, I read so many things that just don't seem to make sense, right? Because, and you have to wonder, does a news editor doesn't read the story and be like, I'm lost, so explain. You know what I mean? Because on the one hand, you're saying that they recorded a video in the presence of
the child,
the 9-year-old daughter, saying what they had planned to do. But then you're saying that when the daughter found them, she was shocked and surprised. What is that? And then I heard today, well, yesterday, that the daughter they kissed her and said goodbye, and she found it strange because they sent the boy upstairs with clothes, and she was kind of, why are you saying goodbye and not good night? And then she found them dead. But then wasn't she in the video yeah. or around when they were recording the video? So what does, I don't understand. But yes.
Let me message in the group and see if anybody had the video.
I don't play the video here now. No. That is
You think it's a video of them dying or it's a video
No,
of them seeing what they
it's
see?
just a video. I wouldn't want a video of my loved ones
See, no?
wrong after I pass.
Well, all right. So then probably
Or
we
after
wouldn't
they
play it,
pass.
but
I wouldn't. If I was a relative of that.
we could probably edit it out. All right, let me do.
If it was a relative of mine, I wouldn't want to see that circulating.
Because the thing is, I just want to hear what they were saying in the video.
I know, and that's why I was looking to hear to see if somebody had
if a
journalist would have documented what was said, because they documented what was said in the letter. You know, they didn't show a picture of the letter, but they said what was contained in the letter. So I was trying to see if somebody would say, you know, at least not everything, not transcript of the video, but simply, well, they said X or Y or Z. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I don't like to disseminate things like that. You know what I mean? So that's why I wouldn't be interested in finding the video itself, and I certainly wouldn't share it, even if I care about it. Yeah.
The thing is, well, one, I wouldn't share it, but two, I just want to hear what they say, because I just wanted perspective. Like, you know, because as I said, the information. So because if you did a video, I think you would explain exactly why, and then you know, it's like, well, you say from the letter they say it's financial, right?
They said it was financial.
Yeah, so I would have.
They ran out of time and they couldn't, you know. Now, people are. This is what I wanted to ask you. People are, you know, obviously what kind of money you could owe that could, you know, take your life. And if it is, now it may not be the amount of money that you owe, it may be who you owe the money to. Right? If it is that you knew that you would be, whoever you owe would come and create a scene, would you prefer to go that way?
When they say create a scene, I mean probably actually come and kill you.
Activate it, yes, come and murder you.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is, you know, I mean, I don't think you owe the bank and you kill yourself. You know what I mean?
And I think some people could reach that point. I think
rich people could reach that point, because, you know, like when you're accustomed to living a real high life and you come and you go bankrupt, but what making you kill yourself is the embarrassment. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, I think. I'm going to see how best I could cushion it. All right. So, before I met certain people, right, I have never heard anybody say, well, I have money for the bank, but me don't have money, so fuck them. I've never heard that from anybody else before. I have heard people cry and worry and don't know what to do themselves because they didn't have the money to pay the bank. You understand what I'm saying? So the other, I think it's people who could feel like that. I feel like they want to reach that point because they just owe the bank.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I do.
Now, I mean, if it didn't appear that they owned their own property because they wasn't living in their own house.
Yeah.
Right? They say, the sister say he sold his 2 vehicles.
Right.
So
So
he had no, you know, what they could have come and take
to
cause embarrassment.
And then I think they say one of his vehicles was a maxi.
Right.
And a maxi does go for a small maxi. I don't know if it's a small or a big, but a small maxi does go for easy 100,000.
Right.
Once it's a ban on it, easy 100,000.
Right. So, I mean, I say all this to say, well, what could make me reach the point where I feel like living can't make sense and going that way is the best route? If I don't have, maybe losing my home, that might be a problem. So if my home was mortgaged and they're coming to take my house, okay. But anything else, that's me, but so this led me to the conclusion that it's probably not normal.
A conventional
loan situation taking place. And I was saying to it just dawned on me, I wonder what I would do in that situation. Because you think of it this way, let me say, the kind of people you're owing might come and kick down your door and kill you all in your bed. Might kill everybody in the house. You know what I mean? Or let me say, you know for sure they'll just come and kill you. You rather your children deal with that, your family members deal with that, or you rather just say, you know what?
That's a real hard thing for me to process, because I think it's because I have kind of forced myself for a while to live, not to end up in a situation like that. So I am one of the people who really know about if you do how to do it out now, boy. You understand? So I really can't process. I honestly can't process it to think like that.
Let me say you didn't borrow. Let me say you went, you try some racket. Somebody rope you in a racket.
Right.
Or you try to hit a lick. Right? And you fail. And you lost wherever you had. And the people who you take it from bought their money. And you know them ain't normal people. So you know that reckoning coming.
No, but if you tell me, if I know they come to press on me, I will probably try and press on them first. To be real honest with you. No, I had a fire in me. They might not have a fire in them. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, all the people you carry the press on them because you know it's not like all right, I borrow money from Krishna up the road, and Krishna's a kind of wild boy, and I know Krishna will come with a couple friends, and so I'll go and kill Krishna first. It might be the cartel you're owing, and you can't press on the cartel because the cartel sending anybody to. You understand where I'm coming from? So it's not like if you could go and deal with everybody who they will send for you. You know what I mean? So in a situation like that, I thinking to myself, it never occurred to me that I would ever consider suicide. But I'm wondering if it's a situation like that, if I would prefer to spare my family members.
Nah, then I would try to run.
Try to press, yeah.
Try to run, yeah. I would try to go out the country.
Try to leave, yeah.
Because if it's not the bank and if it's not the government or whatever, I could leave the country, right? And I pick up my two children, whatever the case may be. My fear might just be for the extended family,
right?
My sister,
right? If they go looking for them, but they can't find you, they go for them.
But boy, I gotta cry. In the next country, boy, dog, boy. I gotta miss your funeral and cry in the next country, boy.
Good, boy. You're wicked, boy. So you're gonna leave your extended family to deal with that, boy, and catch bullet for you.
What you gonna do, boy?
That I mean, what I would hope is that if I flee, the door go behind them. But if I know for sure they'll go behind them, I can't do that.
So then
I go face the music. I don't know if I'll face the music on my own or if I'll face the music and let them come for me. But I wouldn't run and leave people who had not, because what I go feel like is people who had nothing to do with the whole scenario.
We'll get
I can't live. I wouldn't be able to live with that. Now I would probably run hoping that they wouldn't do them anything. But if I know for sure, if they say, hey, and if you look to run, we know where your mother living and your cousin and it. I can't. No, I'll go face the music.
I honestly think I would try to go behind them one by one, or the person who hand me the money. I think I try to go for that person. Why?
Well, I mean, if I could, I might try.
And my thing is, even if I could roll up on you and squeeze it on you, and then your rest of the boy squeeze it on me, I don't mind. You understand what I'm saying? But I had to go out in a blaze of glory, but I had to go around fighting that way. But I saw it. I didn't because, but I mean, that's an incredible point. Like, who they were owing, what they could possibly be knowing, if that is what the situation was. I mean, if it is as stated, and then the other issue that I saw somebody bringing up was because this would be the sort of feminist perspective that he probably forced it on Hannah. Like the two of them couldn't come to the conclusion at the same time that ending their life is the best way to deal with it. Is probably one person inveigle the other person, and people immediately think that the man would be the instigator now, who would listen, hear this now. We can't pay no girl, so best we leave this together, as opposed to just saying, well, I go leave this and you fight up now. I obviously we don't know that, it's speculating, but I remember hearing a story, and I don't want to stretch it too far how I heard this story, right? But I remember hearing a story of a young person who off themselves a few days after the insurance policy made 2 years, right? And apparently it's when after doing the investigation, they believed that the person did it to help out their family,
not knowing that they do pay out on suicide.
No, apparently they do, but according to the circumstance, like if something tragic happened in your life and you happen to end up going on that road, it's according to the circumstance, right?
All right.
I just try not to go too deep in it because then they go figure out
right who it is.
Yeah, but when they check it, they realize the person made that call like just a few days after the so that could have probably been an option too if they have life insurance and I don't know.
Well, I mean, first of all, we should say unequivocally that is a sad,
it's a very sad
awful situation.
Situation, sorry. And the thing is, but that's the thing for me. I always trying to figure out why now, boy. Like, why? What will drive somebody to that point now? In every situation, or if somebody haunts somebody, I know that shit, I go, why? All right? That's me. And that's something that real puzzling to me now, boy.
You mean to override that self-preservation hardwiring that human beings have? I think is a form of, and I'm not a psychologist or anything, just my personal opinion. I think it's like a mental health issue, and it's almost like a defect. You know, like, you know how they have this, I don't know if it's true, but I heard this at some point in time that some people have a defect where they aren't put off by the scent of feces. So they, as little babies, they play with their own feces and they eat their own feces because we all have a wiring we've developed throughout evolution because feces is, you know, poisonous to our system. Ingesting that is poisonous to our system. To put it back in your system is not good. You know, we secrete this this chemical that gives feces a exceptionally bad smell, so that you'll know not to interfere with it now. And the people who do that still have a defect in their brain. I wonder if like some mental health situation trips, and that hard wiring to preserve one's life, which is what all human beings normally have, if that just disappears. So the reason why you can't understand it is because you don't ever suffer from that,
right?
That situation, that mental health situation that causes that to stop working. You know what I mean?
The thing is, I think we have seen, and I think the records to show that now, that we have seen, especially in the last 2 years, a lot more suicides. And I was listening to something on a podcast today, and they were saying that I think from 2010, they say it started to increase. Right. Right? It started to see an increased number of suicides, and it kept going up, right? So, I mean, is it that also we as a people, we have become a bit weaker or fragile, that we aren't willing to face? We're not talking about this situation specifically, right? Because we don't know this situation. If the situation was a matter of finances, then I mean, that's a different thing than driving. But there are people who they do badly in school. They want to draw for that. Relationship goes south. They want to draw for that. They having a difficult time dealing with their parents. They want to draw for that. So, you know.
Well, first of all, I think it's, I don't have any research that I could call off the top of my head to justify this, but I'm pretty sure this is accurate, that suicide is a kind of affliction of the affluent. And when I say the affluent, not, you might think, but not all the people I know who kill themselves are rich, but we as a developing country have been getting more and more economically prosperous over the past few years. But you've hardly find places where people have to struggle to put food on the table, to, you know, figure out the basics of life. They tend not to have high suicide rates. It's countries like Japan and the United States and European countries and so on, where you think people are happy, that they tend to end up taking that route more often than not. And so the kind of, what people trying to kind of draw from that is that as human beings get more of the basic needs met, the hierarchy needs become more important. So, because, all right, you know, maybe 60, 70, 80 years ago, the average Trinidadian would have been fighting up on a daily basis to get to work, to get the money, to put food on the table, and, you know, the basics, food, shelter, clothing. Those are the things that we were trying to, that occupied most of our time. And young children didn't really have time to sit and ponder their life, and you know what I mean? They had to get involved in chores and working and keeping the family running. But now we live much more comfortable, quote unquote, comfortable lives. So people have more time to ruminate over what you might consider to be bullshit, you know? So you might say, well, a young teenager now will have clothes, shoes, access to the internet, and all of that. But now the fact that they can't have a relation, the hierarchy needs now, the things that when you go up that what's his name, Maslow pyramid of hierarchy of needs or whatever, and now you're searching for belonging, right? And belonging matters a lot to you, whereas to me and you, we just care about sustenance things.
Right.
Belonging matters a whole lot to them. And when that starts to fall on, when they can't have friends, and now they have access to the internet, and the internet fill their head with all kinds of shit, social media. So now, because that need isn't being met, they start to feel as if life isn't worth living. They don't appreciate the fact that they wake up and they breathe in and they have a chance to to fulfill the potential.
And they
so
have way more than what most people have.
Most people, right, precisely.
Yeah.
They can't appreciate that because, first of all, you've come to take that for granted. That is that you don't even, to you, that's nothing. That's nothing. You know what I mean? You don't exist without those things.
All right. So you being a father with a lot of young people growing up in this time, how do you think you could change that in your household?
What I have tried to do, I have not been hugely successful with my older daughter, but I hope to be with the younger ones, is to control access to the internet. And when I say control access to the internet, you can't shadow them, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of what causes the depression amongst young people and the inability to kind of not actuate, but to become, I want to say, balanced human beings is too much exposure to what's happening out there and not enough focus on what's happening in your own home and your immediate surroundings. When we were young, we didn't give a shit about what was taking place in the Ukraine.
Right. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And it wasn't because we were different people necessarily. It's because what was happening in Ukraine wasn't being channeled into your brain every 10 seconds. You didn't know what somebody halfway across the world felt about, feminism or some other nonsense. Your immediate surroundings, that was your world, right? And when you could focus on tangible things, it tends to keep you a little bit more grounded. I find children who get way too absorbed into the internet and particularly social media, those things, that is when they start to get a little bit airy. And so that's what I personally try to do. I try my best to limit the not even the access to the internet, but the amount of time they spend in cyberspace and try to keep them in real life. And I think if we keep them in real life, and I that's why this COVID thing has been so frustrating for that effort, because obviously, they have to be on the internet all the time and they can't do a lot of the physical interaction that I would love for them to do. But that's turning around now. And over the past couple of months, especially, they've been interacting with a lot more, their peers. And I think that's the best you could do. And obviously provide love and support for your children. But you see, keeping them away from the internet, I think that's getting kind of falling on the rabbit hole of the internet. I think that's the best you could do.
All right.
Social media being the cesspool of it all.
Interesting way, because like for instance, one of the things that I really try to teach my younger one, might be a bit too late to the older one, is looking for other people's validation. Yeah, boy. And it's a difficult thing to teach now, because there's the next side of this world who thinks that everybody should validate everybody else.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, and everybody should validate your thoughts and your and I try to listen. You do something because you want to do it. Don't study how other people feel about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If people appreciate it, if they don't be all hung up over it, you do what you need to do. That is something that I've been trying to implement, but I'm usually seen as harsh and
well, and it's also because you're going, like you just mentioned, you have to go against the grain, and the culture is pushing them in a particular direction. You aren't responsible. People are generally told these days, you aren't really responsible for regulating your emotions, It's everybody else's responsibility. So you aren't particularly responsible for how you feel about yourself. It's how so if somebody else doesn't validate your idea of yourself, then you are invalidated. Whereas you can't control, you should be being taught that you can't control other people. So you have to search within yourself for regulating mechanisms as to how you're going to regulate your behavior and emotions. But they're not taught that. And so that's why it's kind of, you're always fighting against it. So you'll come across as harsh because you have to be like a hawk on it. You have to be, and I come across as harsh too because I am so careful about what they're exposed to. And because there's so much of it out there because of the internet, you have to be like an asshole all the time. Like, nah,
but you see, I think there's a real conversation we're having, a real deep conversation here, because the thing is, being perceived as the asshole all the time, or the insensitive one all the time, then, especially because you start to be perceived as that in your household, and then it starts to spread out now. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Even from probably some of the conversations we have here, you know, some people will watch us as insensitive, where we just like, nah, dog, at the end of the day, nobody gonna determine how I feel or what I think about a particular situation. I will tell you how I feel about it, and there's what I think about it. But I think that kind of puts you out of society in a way. If you understand, it kind of make you an outcast. And in today's world, you can't afford to be an outcast and make money. Right? It's difficult to be an outcast and make money. It's difficult to be an outcast and be successful. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, it might or might not be. I think the difficulty, it probably might be difficult here in Trinidad.
Right.
Because it's such a small market. So whatever. So for instance, if in a country as large as the United States, you could always find your tribe, right? You could always find your people for whom your style is appreciated, you know, so, but places like Trinidad where a monoculture is kind of, you have to fall into the monoculture because it's such a tiny place, you can't find a niche and serve that niche in that way. But in terms of with the family, my hope is that, like in the household, yes, I am perceived as the asshole, but my hope is that, first of all, I try as much as often to reinforce the fact that I love everybody involved in the situation here, everybody in this household. All of this comes from love, right? I try my best to, my wife would probably say that doesn't come off to her, but I try my best to make it clear that that's where all of this comes from. And my hope is that over time, you'll just realize, yeah, my father's a kind of asshole, but he was right about plenty of things, you know what I mean? And I'm glad he was an asshole about X or Y or Z. I have no problem with being the bad guy as long as in
the end,
in time, and you know, you try to walk that tightrope. You don't want to push them too much and you know to be so harsh that they want to run in the complete opposite direction.
Which I think is the next problem.
Right.
So and think about it. I think it's a very difficult time for you to use any of the long time parenting skills in today's world, because that next side is so soft and cushiony, you know. So let me read it. That next side is like cloud nine, you know.
Yeah.
You understand? And it really draws them in. It is a situation where it draws them in to then hang them.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And that is what I try to bring across to my children, that it only appears to be the easy side. Because like I keep telling my children, you know, when you hear shit like, you know, you want to see yourself on TV, or you should be happy about, you know, a Black Panther movie or some kind of thing. I'm like, why are you letting other people be responsible for your self-esteem? You can't change the fact that you're black. The color of your skin can't change, right? So therefore, what is the point of being anything other than proud of your skin? You can't, because it's not like, all right, well, I'm unhappy with my weight, so I could change my weight. I'm unhappy with how not good I am at football, so I could train harder. But you're black. So when people say things like, you know, you're proud to be black, well, what else should I be? What is the point of being anything other than proud of something that I cannot change about myself? So once you understand that, and you nobody else is responsible for how you feel. So not ever seen. So because if you make them responsible, then what happens when they change? When they change their mind and say, no, you're on TV again. Your self-esteem goes down the toilet. You understand? So I always try to show them that being in control of your emotions is always, it mightn't seem easier at first, but it's always the easier route, because if you start letting people be in charge of regulating your emotions, you are looking for misery. You're setting yourself up for a life of misery, because you'll be constantly looking to fight people who are not validating your existence. And there's no way to live. So if you regulate yourself, then how everybody else behaves, that has nothing to do with you, because you are. And a kind of motto that I have for my household, especially my older daughter, is the way you come to love yourself is by constantly making decisions that you yourself are proud of. When you make those decisions on a daily basis, that's when you will love yourself. It doesn't matter how you look. Doesn't matter. You could look like Halle Berry. It doesn't matter. If you aren't comfortable with yourself, you're not going to love yourself. And the only way you love yourself is when you consistently make decisions and do things that you yourself are proud of. Not that I proud of, that your mother proud of, that your cousin, your auntie, your tenty, and then.
But you don't think there's the next weird and hard conversation now? We're going real deep here, way. Because
I good with this, you know.
The thing is here, because it's easy for you to say that, but then you might be the person in the house who holds that feeling, right? But then you might have grandparents, or you might have other people in the household who they want the children to make the decisions that they would be proud of. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Well, that's why I make it. That's why me and in our case, my wife and I would have to create the situation where they feel safe to do that. And I think in our case, at least, we seem to be working.
Because the thing is, I mean, as I say, but I think sometimes they could still be having these battles within themselves. I think, like, okay, I know mommy and daddy ain't go pressure me, but I don't want to make granny sad, or I don't want to make granny.
But what I mean by making decisions that you're consistently proud of, half of the problems we have with ourselves is that we let ourselves down on a daily basis, and we pretend that it's other people that bothering us, but it's really us. Other people reflect what we feel about ourselves. Because okay, if you walk out from here and somebody calls you stupid, you don't care, because you know you're not stupid. You understand? But it's when people say something like, hey, you're fat, then you are, well, I really carrying some extra weight here now, so I'm feeling bad. Now, if I was as fit as I wanted to be, then that would make no sense to me. So when I say make decisions that when you constantly do things that make you proud of you, then you begin to love you, because you don't, they have this thing people say where you don't break promises to yourself. When you realize, I don't break promises to myself. When I say I'm going to do something for me, I do it. You know what I mean? I think when you do that, you have no choice but to, because you love the person that you are.
See, no, and I'm looking at something as far as that. Let me just say, child decides, I want to be a musician, right? Okay, daddy might be, okay, do what you think you want to do and where you'll be happy. Mommy might be, I ain't really way be a musician, but this daddy stands, so I ain't gonna really say nothing. We just saying, right? Or you see me, I ain't getting in that, right? And then, but granny wanted to be a doctor. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And every time you go by granny, or every time you talk to granny,
well, okay.
you still on this stupid music thing?
Well, okay. What I would do in that instance, and I take that position now, is they need to be protected from that. So it's my rule, you don't go there.
Right.
And I will, and if it's my mother doing that, then I will speak to my mother and say, hey, listen, this is not your work to be telling my daughter.
Because like, I don't know if you ever heard, like, children go through this, right? So you realize that, the grandparent or auntie or whoever might be toxic to how the child growing up.
Yeah.
So you decide to keep the child away. And then the child starts to feel now like they are at fault for the issues that are going on.
I mean, again, I think all of that is false on the parent, because I mean, if especially the person toxic, then you shouldn't have problems explaining to the child that, hey, you're not going by granny because granny.
Wow. You're gonna say granny or auntie or somebody toxic?
Well, I might use the term toxic, but I'm telling you, I'm not taking you. Like, I do that now. I do that with my daughter now. Listen, I don't, because one thing I don't like is you see grown people putting pressure on young on it had nothing to do with them. I find that to be selfish and borderline child abuse. When you can't put aside your pettiness and you want to, you want to offload that on my child. No, so I will make it very clear to them, this is why you're not going there, because when you go there, what she has negative things to say to you, it's not her role. It's not her role. So I have no problem saying that. And I don't think, because I wouldn't harbor any ill will towards the other, at least you wouldn't see it. You'll just be like, yeah, we're not going there. And I'm not going to start bad mouth granny from sun up to sundown. I just be, no, we're not going back there. And well, my wife and I would know why, because when we take her there, she's not grown enough to keep her bullshit in her mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then you lose privileges. You don't see a grandchild because you're too dotish to just, you can't just be an adult and be like, all right, well, this is her decision and I'm moving on with my life.
But I think I want to make a real important point here. I think, in the Bible where people talk about being equally yoked, and most times people use that to mean being in the same religion or the same faith.
Yeah.
I think it's important to know that I think that transcends into a lot of other things in life. Because if the two parents can see it, because as we making these same points, if the father feel one way but the mother feel the next way, you understand what I'm saying? In these kind of situations, that could tear a family apart, from within like cancer now, boy.
Yeah.
So I think that unequally yoked thing doesn't mean just the same faith or whatever. I think it means with the same standards and the same principles and
worldview in a sense. And people don't pay attention to that before they form families. They just people are willy-nilly. They just think, well, hey, right now I'm feeling feelings for you, so let me jump in and do this thing. But it's very important.
But the thing is, and I don't want to blame it too much on people, and because I think a lot of people know you have been seeing a lot of changes in how people see things now. If you understand what I'm saying, like it's have a lot of people who would have. All right, so I just go and pull a wild card here, right? It's a lot of people who might have been very leftist in their thoughts or very liberal in their thoughts, and for whatever reason now they start to feel more conservative in their thoughts or very conservative in their thoughts. So that's some people who you might have met and all look good and they think, well, homosexuality and transgenderism or whatever the case may be was wrong. And then because of how society come and things, they start to say, well, nah, I can't accept that. If you understand what I'm saying. So I think...
Well, I mean, you could never, predict how people are going to change. So people changing is that's just inevitable. But what you would hope to do, and I was telling somebody that this just the other day, I don't know if it might have been you, but no, it wasn't you. But the importance of getting to know yourself before to me there are two. What we were talking about at the time was kind of like the best times to get married, and my view was to get married very, very young or in middle age, right? But the very, very young, you have to be, you can't be a feeble-minded individual because you know the other person that you're getting married to. Because when you get married very young, when you get married before you know yourself, before you've developed, those teething stages, that teething stage or those growing pains in a relationship, you're going to go through it with somebody. I am very different to how I was when I was 20, 23, 25. You know what I mean? So my wife, who I've been with for,
100 years.
Right, yeah. Off and on breaks, whatever. The point is, but we've been, together for quite some time. We went through that. We met when I was 17 or 18 and basically been together since, formed a relationship not long after and have grown up together. So I have seen her change, she has seen me change. Now, if we were feeble-minded individuals, the minute those changes took place and it started to bother the other party, we would have said, fuck that, this ain't worth it, press on. But we didn't. Now, the reason why I say middle age is because if you've gone through that and you don't know yourself,
right? Yeah.
Now you could find somebody,
and you could kind of weather whatever storm.
Where you're likely to have less storms because now you know who you are. She knows who she is, and you all could form a union. But I think the problem comes when when you try to get in the middle of that, when you growing, because you see when you form the love before the growing pains, then going through the growing pains is you remembering the love that you had in the beginning. And so that could give you the motivation to push forward. But when you're in the middle there, bro, and you changing and she changing and they're trying to form, that is back and out.
You're trying to know yourself, trying to figure out yourself.
Right. Yeah. And while you're doing that now, you're trying to form a union with somebody. Buddy, I think you that's a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, a lot of people form families during that time. They make, they have children and they and these things tie them.
What age you say that is? That's it.
25.
25 to 30, 25 to...
I think anywhere from 23, 20, let me say from 23 to 30. I think that stage, the danger stage. That meeting and forming a relationship with somebody at that point in time, I think that is when you're likely to run into some problems. But I think if you have that high school sweetheart thing, or you have that, kind of divorcee, middle age, rekindling love kind of thing, I think those two work. But I think trying to find somebody in the middle is.
I think but you see, I think is also because people studying now here what's going on. If I wait till 30 something, more than likely the person I'm going to meet when I have a child mother or a child father.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I quite bad. I want to deal with that drama. I don't want to deal. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people study that, so they try to lock it in early. And then you see between 18 to 23, 18 to 25, they want to live their life.
They want to live their life. Right.
Yeah.
That is what I think causes the biggest set of problems. That stage is when a lot of people want to get wild. Probably from 18 straight to 25. If so young, some people want to play till they're dead. But 18 to 25, they're fine. To tie down, that's great. That's the best time. They should all day, fighting wild. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I think that is the problem when you do that, and then you come at 25 now and you're looking to get serious, or between 25 and 30, you're looking to get serious. It's running into problems. So, I mean, listen, you can't plan out your life, but if I had to give my children advice, I would say, listen, when you find somebody, don't study what old is, don't study how much, how what people say you're supposed to be doing at this time. If you find somebody that makes life seem meaningful for you, hold on to them, please.
I just tell everybody, wait till you reach 30 to make the decision. If you find a person and you're living good and whatever, cool. But wait till you cross 30 to make the decision.
Well, I mean, you don't have to get married at 18, eh?
Yeah, I know. But I tell them wait till you cross 30 to make those serious decisions. Whether it be children, whether it be marriage.
Yeah.
Wait till you, I mean, some people think the biological clock ticking, but I tell you don't want the divorce clock to be ticking or the child father and child mother clock to be ticking. So here we're going on. You meet the person or enjoy all their life. You understand what I'm saying? Get to know yourself. So even if you meet, as they say, at 17, 18, 19, or whatever the case may be, go through that phase, go through your 20s, right? Make sure all the building, you're building for yourself, that person building for themselves.
Right.
Those are to commit yourself to at that stage, trying to build each other. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because you if it go wrong, and you don't want to hitch your wagon to somebody else. You want to form yourself first.
Yeah. And I tell them, make the decision after 30, let 30 hit, and then start to consider, okay, I wonder if it's marriage I want to do, I wonder, if we married and children and whatever the case may be. Yeah, but that's some deep conversation there.
Somebody was telling me the other day, I listened to the podcast, was telling me we should talk about more relationship things, so I guess this would please her. But
I guess we're given more relationship thing from our man's perspective, because the reason I just hesitate is because when it comes to relationship things, I always want a woman's angle as well now, because obviously.
Well, I mean, I guess, but I mean, if you want to have a fulfilling conversation, but if we just
this is a man's perspective in the situation,
or my perspective, or your perspective,
our perspectives, because anyhow, but.
We still switching gears?
I was going on switch gears quickly, but here I'm not way. That would have been real F up if I didn't laugh and didn't pause in it there. Because dealing with this Leah Thomas thing, I forget what the name was before, but it had the LIA in the name at some thing, right? In the name it had before. And I think a lot of the issues that a lot of people having is that this person decided to make the transformation after they went through puberty. which I think is kind of normal. Well, not kind of normal, but
well, the argument would be that that's the best time to do it because people should come of age and make sure that
they make the choice.
Make sure that they're less likely to regret it. Or whatever.
Right. But in this situation specifically, because what they're saying is this person would have benefited from developing or having certain male hormones,
testosterone, and
right, to make their body stronger and whatever the case may be. And so that is one of the biggest issues in this situation. As I was saying, sorry, I was explaining. So the situation with the Leah Thomas thing is this person was a male.
It's a biological male, transgender.
I did listen. I don't know where you could say and where you can't say when it comes to them.
No, it is. She was born biologically male and has transitioned to female.
All right, because you're not supposed to say that either, right?
I don't know that. I say what I know, so I don't care what you're supposed to say.
Oh, right, yeah, because clearly I ingest too much of this content, but those kind of content because they say you're not supposed to say that because at the end of the day you weren't really born biologically male. They say that was assigned to you by somebody.
Whatever.
So that was kind of
let's carry on. Let's carry on. Yeah.
So right, and then transition to a female. This person, being a male swimmer, was
lowly ranked.
Yeah, lowly ranked. I would say mediocre at best. Right? Transition to a female and is now
destroying everybody.
Top ranking.
Yes.
Duh. Well, like I said, one of them who went in the Olympics didn't do well. I thought one of them who went to the Olympics who was trans and
the Olympics?
Or to some major games. And I think it was a heavy lifter or one of them kind of thing.
A power lifter?
A power lifter, I think.
From New Zealand or Australia, somewhere.
Where I don't keep track of them.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Yeah. So the thing is, that is the issue with that. I mean, I don't know how people feel about it. I think we are getting a lot of pushback against it now, though. And I think we're going to see some pushback coming in situations like this. I think we're going to eventually going to have to force some sort of change. Whether it have sports for cisgender people and then sports for transgender people. If they will break up those sports into which direction they transition.
You know what? This is one of those things where normally I try my best not to be overly selfish in the way that I view things, right? Like simply because something doesn't bother me or affect me, I don't care about it. But this is one of those things where there's so much mental energy that has to be expended dealing with like bullshit around it that, you know what I say to myself? I don't care. And none of my daughters are particularly interested in sports at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they're never gonna have to come up against
because that would be so you see that would kind of be only fair that.
Well, that's the only way it would affect me.
No. What I'm saying is because you wouldn't necessarily have to be afraid for your son. Because if somebody transitions from female to male, they may never be better than.
Well, it certainly doesn't present itself as an advantage, right? Mm-hmm. It means that even as a female, unless the next argument would be the drugs that you would have taken to help you transition. Right. Are you competing at a level with in too much testosterone or whatever, which is what Caster Semenya went through. But she didn't transition. But I'm just saying that the what was used to keep her out was the fact that this what they call it as an intersex. I think that's an intersex condition, and that she had a too high a level of testosterone in her system, and it gave her an unfair advantage. In her case, I don't think it's unfair because she was born that way. You know what I mean? There were no drugs that brought her that. But anyway, the point is, if it's a female to male transgender individual competing in male sports, then the likelihood of it presenting an advantage is minimal, right? But where this becomes a problem is in female sports. And as far as I'm concerned, if females are okay with it, then all right, go right ahead. If the women competing and if they're so progressive in their views, and they're so determined.
I think I know you've seen a lot of women
but that's just some. The majority, they still because you don't know how many of them truly feel that way, or they just.
But we talking about the ones who competing, or we talking about women on the whole
competing.
Because I think a lot of the women who are competing, they're having issues. So like even with the same one I was talking about, who was the powerlifter, when they asked for their opinion, they said we have no comment. When they asked her competitors, right? Excuse, did we her? Yeah, her competitors. Wow. Yeah. They said they had no comment. They could have easily said some real...
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about the weightlifter you're talking about, but I know that in the high schools in the States, when there were a couple of track athletes that were transgender individuals, teenagers, and same thing, they were running as boys, didn't really rank, decided to run as girls, broke all the records, right? They were running 1-2. In fact, in some of the instances, the top 3 were transgender individuals, right?
That's what I was
and, there was all a kerfuffle about it, and people outside were making a big deal, but when they asked the girls on the team, they was like, no. Again, I don't know how much of that is genuine, yeah, we're okay with it, and how much of that is, well, I'm afraid to say I'm not okay with it, because then I'd be called all sorts of names and vilified. So I don't know, but the point is, if the women who are competing are the ones who have to make it clear that this is not cool. Right. If you aren't saying that, then have at it.
In this case with the Leah Thomas thing, I
heard of one girl who was making who kick up a fuss because she was denied a place in the finals.
Right, but it's not that. But then they show you when they were on the podium and they were taking pictures, the 2 other girls pull away, like significantly away from.
Well, I didn't know. I saw the picture. I saw the picture, but I didn't know what that picture meant. I didn't know if that was in any way. Because the impression I got is that when the kerfuffle was raised, the people at the school, because I mean she would be competing. She's competing for a university, right? But to get to that point, she has to compete within the school, right? And the people within the school were like, yeah, we're fine with it. And they're like, yeah, you go girl and blah, blah, blah. So, okay, cool. Well, she wouldn't get to that point if in, I think it's Penn State, I might be wrong, but the University of Pennsylvania.
But the thing is, because what they were saying, I think I've also seen things where they're saying some of the team members, they're against it, but they realize the coach, even though they are mentioning to the coach, I was reading out today, they mentioned it to the coach was like, ignoring their cries. Yeah. So they were like, well, what are we going to do again?
Well, if that's the case, then they have to make a louder stink.
And I think it might just be in not competing at all. Well, go and compete by yourself. So in essence, they cannot tell them.
No, well, I mean, some of these individuals would have.
I understand you're looking for
No, and they can't do that because they would lose their scholarship and then they'll have to pay for the university, and then that's a problem. So that's probably why they wouldn't do that. But they need to make. If it was the coach was racist and they would all kick up a fuss and they would not come to train and they do whatever, and they wouldn't stop until that coach was fired. So then make the same stink.
But the thing is, then you have the whole of social media, traditional media.
But I get that. But what I'm saying is, this affects you. The rest of so all of the people who are out there, blah blah, transfer. That's your business.
But that's the thing. The point you're making is the reason you don't want to kick up is because you want to keep your scholarship, right? If there's a possibility that you kick up about that, and you could be labeled as transphobic, and they kick you off the team.
No. What I said was they don't want to not compete because then they lose. But what I'm saying, if the coach of the team was accused of, or this individual, let's say the Leah Thomas herself was accused of being racist or whatever, then they would kick up a fuss, right? They would get Black Lives Matter involved, and they would protest, and they would do all the things, and they would make sure that nobody.
Yeah, but all those things are the cool things.
Right, yeah, but what I'm saying is
standing against a transgender person in a sport is not a cool thing.
Right, yeah, I get that, but what I'm saying is they would have the same. They would have the fervor for it, right? Well, have the same fervor now because it affects you. It doesn't affect anybody else. The other people who are talking outside, that's their business. You are the one personally affected by this. And my thing is, if you don't want to, if you don't have the the resolve to do that, then I don't care. Compete and lose.
No, but this is what I'm saying. So what about if you're studying? If I am to say something, I'd be considered or classed as transphobic and thrown off the team.
Well, no, you can't be thrown off the team for that, right?
Well,
so you
well, they shouldn't be able to be thrown off the team for that.
Well, and you would be, and you certainly wouldn't be able to do it if it's all of y'all. If all of y'all make a stance and say that this is not what we agree with, or this is not fair, then they can't throw all of you off the team. Now, in terms of your scholarship agreement and what you have to do to keep your scholarship, I don't know what that is, and you'll have to work that out. But what I'm saying is, if you make it all that they are afraid of is being labeled a particular way, right? And my thing is, if the fear of social, ostracization, or a few people calling you names makes you cower to that, then I'm sorry.
Nah, but I disagree with you there now, because the thing is, they understand in the time we live in now, if you are given that label, I mean, some of them might want to go on to be
all of them do it, how can they do that?
No, but all right, no, I didn't talk about that alone. Let's talk about after school. You might want to go on to be a professional athlete, and then sponsors may not want to have any part to play with you.
Okay, but if you speak to everybody on your team and you get the idea that at least 70% of the people are really against this but not saying it, what do you think is happening outside? What do you think is happening in the actual world? Don't you think that everybody's thinking exactly what you're saying? And the only reason you're not saying it is because you're all scared?
I think especially in the US, I think most people don't think like that.
Okay, Deadspin put out an article that was not favorable. That's what you sent to me, right? And that's not the only article that I saw was unfavorable to her.
Right.
Right? So clearly a sentiment is brewing, right? Deadspin is as woke as you could get, and they were at least willing to criticize the not really the fact that she's been allowed to compete, but they pounded home the fact that born male, developed male muscle tissues and all of that, and able to compete. Where's that? Right? So then clearly I mean, there are some things that I could understand where, all right, maybe you feel your opinion is in the minority and you really, so you feel there's no sense in that. But I think everybody knows that no matter how you feel about transgender individuals.
So this get back to my point. So I think, okay, you remember you're saying you were hearing that during the year, or whatever the case may be, everybody was kind of like, okay. So then it might be a situation where they weren't really okay, but they didn't have the support of all these people that that get to know. So now you realize they kind of the teammates kind of speaking out against it now because they realizing well it's looking like we're getting some support outside now.
And my take on it is that if you know this is wrong and you are willing to go along with it, and it affects you, not me, then I done. As far as I'm concerned, compete and lose. Because it got to this stage, because I'm sure when the person transitioned and tried out and declared they were female and whatever, everybody had like, first of all, look at the height of this individual. You know what I mean? What's happening here? All of them said that in their heads, but none of them said anything. And so that's why it reached this stage now. When at that point people had said, hey, I have no problem with however she identifies. No issue with whatever she chooses to call herself. I will address her as she. I believe she is. Well, you can't say you believe she's a woman, because the argument, this is why you can always catch them in reality.
You know, it's one of the issues they were having as well. They were saying that she would walk around the changing room with her male genitals hanging.
Well, right.
And a lot of the rest of the team, they were uncomfortable with it.
Oh,
and
why?
They told the coach that they were comfortable with it.
Why? It's a woman. It's a woman. And I know I seem in color, but you know why I'm glad? I'm kind of glad this is happening is because this is what happens when you can't have an adult conversation where, listen, we can talk about how to treat people who have gender dysphoria. We can talk about how sensitive we have to be to you shouldn't be an asshole, or you should be, no problem. We can have all those discussions in a rational manner. But then when we start saying, no, that's a woman. Okay, well then if it's a woman, then there's no issue. There's no issue. It's a woman competing amongst women. End of story. All right. And then I'm done. I'm done. You have made your bed. Now lie in it. So all of the people who were pretending all the time that they believed what they were saying, okay, now your daughter is going to lose a scholarship because of that. Right? Now your friend or your sister or somebody, they're going to lose a scholarship because of that. Now your friend or your sister will be made to feel real uncomfortable in the change room because it's a woman. End of story. And that's what you've been saying, that it doesn't, they were, like you were just pointing out, it's not that they were born male and transition. That's not even right. They were born female. You just didn't reckon all of that nonsense that's taking place and all this mental gymnastics and this bullshit, let's call it what it is. Instead of just having an adult conversation, okay, transgendered people exist. How do we treat with them? Right? Again, it's always, you want to encourage people to be sensitive to other people's situations. And as I say, let's have an adult conversation about how we deal with this. But if we don't have an adult conversation about this, we just make believe. And we pretend that we all buy into this concept. And, and if you don't, then you're some sort of troglodyte who needs to be put in a cave because you don't know what the modern world is made up of. And now we have this bullshit. So as far as, again, and maybe, if I was concerned about my daughters being in a space,
I know what to tell you. That's where the action might be just now.
With males, I don't think it'll happen here. Hopefully, I don't think that you have that fear to face. While they are still young, I don't think I have that fear to face here. But that's the only issue, the only part of it that might affect me. So as far as I'm concerned, have at it, bro. Have at it. Let them compete in the Olympics. So it will, and believe you, and mind you, it will become a trend. It will become a trend when people. It's kind of already a trend, but when people realize, wait a minute, I can't medal as a male. Yeah.
Well, I think where it will start to get interesting for me is where I want to see how things like endorsements and things will happen. I want to see, like, when these people do this transition trick and you end up competing as a female now, and let's say you're medaling and you're at the top, if they will get the same kind of endorsement deals.
Yeah, for sure. Because everybody will want to hitch their wagon onto them because that's a woke thing to do. So, in fact, a transgender athlete now I'm sure people are probably contacting Leah Thomas now to do endorsement deals.
That's the next thing. So let's just say we have 2 or 3 of them in a particular field or a particular whatever, right? Discipline. And they push out all the cisgender women and they start to get all the money.
Yeah.
Then
again, and that's what I say. And I'll look back and I'll be like, well, this is what you created, right? Because when it was happening, you could have said, no, listen, I'm not transphobic. This is bullshit. I know that. But you didn't, so now gets no money.
No. And we close off on this note, I just think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's great. You know why? No, you can't kill the patriarchy because here we're going on. Because what they say in the patriarchy, fire burn the patriarchy. But guess what? So now, if men want to be in charge, they transition to women and they still get to be in charge.
Right. They still they end up being the best women.
Yeah.
Men end up being the best women.
So,
I listen, and you know what? The problem is, the reason why I was concerned about the Olympics thing is because I know that the Olympic Committee would have to have broad support from other countries. And I don't know if you could have that in the Olympics yet because the kind of pushback you'll get from countries where, nah, bro, you see that bullshit all they're condoning in the West there? We don't know nothing about that. You know what I mean? So, how they would view that sort of thing. But I think this is going to, just like almost everything else, you're going to continue to see a split in the cultures of planet Earth, where, because after a while, if countries that aren't on board with this shit start saying, but we're not going to be sending our athletes to be to keep losing to biologically male individuals or whatever. So we'll just pull out and then we'll have our own games and we wouldn't involve ourselves in that. And I think you're just going to see that fracture forming, and then it'll become increasingly a thing where this is your world and the rest of the world operates in a different manner. Joe Biden was making a speech the other day and talking about New World Order. I think that is, he might be the New World Order he think is coming. I think that is the New World Order. We will have, I think just in the United States and all, you'll see it. You'll see places like Florida and other parts of the United States saying, hey, listen, you see da? Or let's stay over there with da. And we staying over here with this. And then it will just happen down the kind of east and west divide, and the east of the world will be like, yeah, bro, all you have at it with that stuff over there. We'll keep pressing forward on our side of the planet. That's what I see. But sometimes you have to let people, let their logic run to its, let the things they're advocating run to the logical conclusion, and then they'll realize, oh, duh, I was an ass, and that's what I'm saying. Let them go. And
that's the frightening part. I don't think most of them would even if they realize that egg on the face, they would not admit it.
Well, but yeah, and that's true. They won't admit that egg is on the face. They wouldn't admit that they've been on shit. But I just think after a while, you can't bump up against reality, and you can't defeat reality. And the situation he described where, if the endorsements start to flow the way of the transgendered individuals and the cisgendered individuals, I don't even like that term, but these normal people, get their, they quite simply, which will always be in the majority, they quite simply realize money is now at stake. Because you see, what happens is it's easy to pretend to believe something when there are no consequences. But when the consequences start to bite, then it's, and you see how they're already starting with the Deadspin article, you see how they're already starting with the racial angle. Because they still want to appear woke, right? They want to criticize Leah, but they want to appear woke. So now they're pretending it's a racist thing, Caster Semenya, because Caster Semenya was competing in a completely different, that's is the International Athletics Federation that had her under pressure, not the university system. So to compare, like if, is the same people that were mistreating Caster Semenya are now praising her. No, it's not the same. But you know why they brought the article from that angle? Because they want to criticize her, but the only way they could do that without being labeled as transphobe is to, all right, well, it's the racist angle, right? It's white privilege, and because they had to stay within the talking points.
And the next thing is, at this point, Caster Semenya, was she approaching retirement or probably?
No, she coming back. She's sprinting in something again. She come back.
But you think she'll still really be that good? I mean,
I don't know, but I mean, I haven't followed her career closely, but she's supposed to be coming. She's supposed to be making a comeback sometime soon, like in the next couple of weeks or so.
Because the thing is, she would have been kind of out of a.
But she's been training.
No, but I'm saying, normally your body just at a certain age just do have what it takes.
Well, I mean, but that is if you don't have the wear and tear. And I mean, to be fair, she's been training, but she wouldn't have been competing in the way that some other athletes would have been putting that extra wear and tear on the system. So maybe she might have just been doing maintenance work. And now that she's been allowed to sprint again, now she's, well, not sprint, but run again. She's now going to go into competition mode and now put that pounding on her body. We'll see. But again, that's why they're bringing that, because they want to criticize it, but they want to criticize it while still appearing woke. So they're going to jump on the race angle.
It's going to be some interesting times ahead.
Yeah. And
very, very interesting.
Just have to sit back and watch it. Just allow people to lay in the bed that they've made, And I'm happy to see it.
I can't say we're happy to see that, because I know some people, they tend to get kind of erratic when things not going their way, and things can get shepherded that way. Because I mean, we have to keep in mind that wasn't it Joe Biden's, I don't want to say law, but Joe Biden's and adjustments or whatever, that why this thing is the way it is in schools in the States.
Title IX thing.
I don't know the name of it, but
that was I can't remember if it was legislation or if it was just an executive order,
right.
Something that governs the funding of sport, and within it contained a few things about transgender.
Right.
So I think that's what you're referring to.
Right. Yeah. So that same thing. Yeah. Yeah, and at the end
But
of the day,
Obama then brought that in, by the way.
serious.
Yes, and it was adjusted by Trump. Trump came. It had to do with women's sports, but it also had something to do with it had some inadvertent sort of governing of transgender athletes. So yeah, but that was put in place by Obama. If it is Title IX,
Right.
that was put in place by the Obama administration. It was kind of curtailed under Trump, and then it was reinstated when Joe Biden came back.
Right. So you see, and that's the next thing. If they have support of the left side in the States, of one of the most powerful nations in the world, as I say, I mean,
Everybody overplays their hand. That's the reality. Everybody, and that's how all empires fall, civilizations crumble, because eventually people get arrogant, they get complacent, and they overplay their hand, and they think, I'm so powerful, I'm now going to shove this down people's throats. And they might find that this is the thing that people like, hey, no, mash the brakes. And you might get them to mash the brakes faster by just, as I say, just letting it run its course. Letting it run its course. Because you're seeing it, people like, what the hell? This isn't right.
yeah, I think probably the size of this person in the situation as well. Kinda throw people like,
Right. Compared to the other individuals competing with her, I didn't.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So,
Hey boy, before we go, I just want to put it on record. I know it is not a sports podcast, but I want to put it on record.
the Barca for again.
You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? I find you're doubting that my side come back. I'm telling you right
No,
through,
no,
and you're
listen.
doubting that my side come back.
Listen,
You're
and
doubting.
I think, I mean, good job on Barca side. Big up Barca. Big up Obama Young. I think that's the thing is, how come he wasn't shining so for Arsenal though?
Well, you remember he had the falling out with Arteta.
Well, I know he had a falling out, so he was just holding back, boy.
Well, no, I mean, remember he was the reason he signed that contract with Arsenal because he was their top scorer. I think 2 seasons in a row. I think one of the second of those seasons he shared the golden boot or came close to sharing the golden boot with Mo Salah. So he was busting up the net in Arsenal. Aubameyang is a player that seems to hit the ground running everywhere he goes. Dortmund he did the same thing and then he kind of fizzled out. Then Arsenal got him. He hit the ground running and then he fizzled out. So Barca, he's sitting the ground running. He is only an 18-month contract, so hopefully he doesn't fizzle out before that time. But also he's not looking sharp and he's throwing real chances. Just Barcelona is creating a lot of chances. He and Ferran Torres are both throwing away in that same Clasico. It should have been 8. You know what I'm saying?
Some people saying that.
He and Ferran Torres throw away some serious sitters. So, right now he's a player that needs about 3 good chances to convert one. But the beauty of the way Barca is playing now is that they're creating a lot of chances. So, I don't even rating Aubameyang that highly. And he's a good player. And what I think is good is the runs he's making. The runs he's making is I think it's causing a lot of havoc for players trying to defend the wide players. They don't know what to do. And Aubameyang creates all that havoc when he's making those diagonal runs into the box from the middle. But I'm not rating him that highly. I just rating the team. The team out there scorching, dog. We scorching. I tell you that. If you're coming to play Barca, prepare to score 5. Because 4, you're going to get a draw. If you score 4, you're going to get a draw. I'm telling you. So I just wanted to put it out there. As I say, not a sports podcast, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, big up Barca. I see now Barca doing their thing. I do support any particular team, so.
But there's no doubt mine, right?
Hey, thanks again for viewing. Thanks again for listening. And yeah, remember, go to YouTube and hit the subscribe. Yeah, we go on.
Yeah.